All right, welcome to another episode of the AI Edge podcast. We're here to help marketing and advertising professionals keep up with all the AI news and how it impacts the industry. Okay, we're here for another episode. Welcome to our special guest, Ken Rona. Ken, please introduce yourself.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I'm Ken Rona. I'm the Chief AI Officer for JWX, which was JW Player Kinetics up until fairly recently. We are the video player inside of something like 60% of the Comscore 100. In fact, we're the first video player when YouTube went live. We were the first player.
Awesome.
Nice.
Ken, we're really excited to have you, especially your title is very special and very relevant to this podcast. So thank you for joining us.
Best title in advertising.
Best title in advertising. That's right. Actually, we hired one of you too, and she's going to be on the pod next week. So a little sneak peek. Myles, you're with me again. Hey, thank you. By the way, Myles, thank you for filling in for me last week on last week's episode. I really appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed your day off.
I did. I enjoyed skiing, and I was very thankful that you were willing to take on host responsibilities, and you did a fantastic job. So thank you for moving back to the co-host seat now for this week's episode.
It's a musical chairs, is it not?
a taste of power.
Yes. Yes. Okay, let's get into the news of the week. So the top story from this past week that I want to talk about with you guys is all the news about wearables. AI wearables are coming, guys. And they've been coming for a while, but guess what? They're still coming. The two big companies that were kind of in the news were Meta and Apple. So the news was basically that Meta, they obviously already have their Ray-Bans, and they're continuing to iterate on those and make those better, but they'll also be launching a watch, which I thought was interesting, right? Obviously, in competition with Apple's watch and, the Android watch, Meta's going in that direction as well. Obviously, they're talking about it being, fully AI-enabled and AI-centric. So that was the Meta bit. Apple announced that they're going to be launching three AI-centric devices. So first of all, a pin, which I think is fascinating because if you guys remember, there was a company called Humana that tried to launch a pin a year ago, and it was a miserable dumpster fire of a disaster.
Humane, was it not? Don't.
Oh, thank you. Not Humana. I don't know why.
Humana is a different.
They don't want that on
the insurance company. Yeah. No, you wouldn't want to sully the insurance company's name.
Sorry, Humana, if you're out there and you're listening, we apologize. Okay, the other device Apple is going to launch are a pair of glasses. So it's, they're moving into Meta's territory. Meta's moving into their territory with a watch. And then the third thing is they're going to make the AirPods more AI-centric. Don't quite know exactly what any of these devices will look like, what they will be able to do. So it's all speculation at this point, but it's coming. The other thing I will just call out before I get your hot takes on this is Apple announced maybe a month or two ago that they're going to be partnering with Google in order to power Apple products and Siri specifically using Gemini's models. So Gemini will obviously be playing a big role, I think, in these Apple AI wearables. So with that, obviously, there's a lot here to unpack just in terms of consumer angles and what it means for consumers, and is there going to be adoption? Obviously, I want to hear your opinions on the advertising and marketing angles of all of this. But with that, Ken, let's start with you. What do you make of all this?
Gosh, I mean, it's hard not to see Minority Report coming. I feel like it's almost pedantic to say it. The lapel pin is going to be listening as to what you're working on, and the glasses are going to be seeing what you're seeing, and they're going to be able to project right into your retina. And so it's hard to see how advertising doesn't become more intrusive. But I don't think I'm on the edge of in terms of saying that. I am excited for some of the wearables. I mean, I am fully into the Apple ecosystem after not really being involved for about 5 years. But I have an Air. I have my the earbuds. I have the phone. I have a watch. I'm like, how many? I have an iPad with a pen. I'm like, I don't know how many more things I can reasonably carry from Apple. I feel kind of silly. I walk around with $6,000 worth of Apple products in my bag at any given time. But I will say I'm not really looking forward to it. As I get older, I'm looking actually to do less. Have less screens in my life. I don't find that they add a lot of joy.
Mhm.
They add value certainly, but as I get older and don't need to keep track of my kids quite so much, I'm looking forward to retiring a lot more of these things.
If
Yeah, joy doesn't equal value. I really like that.
Yeah.
That's a really good
if
point.
if
Miles, what do you think?
if you could have like whatever genuine, AI assistance in one of your devices, which would you prefer it? If you want to reduce screens, you don't want AI in all your
Like,
devices because you don't want all the devices anymore. Where do you want AI?
oh, my ears,
Yeah.
my earphones. I think earphones. And glasses. Actually, I would go with glasses. I had a set of these Bose Bluetooth glasses, right? So they would they were awesome in terms of their sound quality, but they were but kind of hard to hear. The volume was low, but I had those for a long time, and they were sunglasses, and they were great, right? Because I didn't have to put anything inside my ears. But I think kind of a combination of glasses and
Yeah.
headphones, I could be talked into that.
That sounds like
Right. I think
it sounds like the next level of contrived AI device is the bone conducting headphone connected to AI. I think that's a great idea. Were they the bone
Hey,
conducting
so like
headphones,
what
Ken?
yeah,
Yeah.
in part.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had some of that bone conduction. They were really early. But it's funny, right? Because like I want to get rid of screens, but at the same time, like, but if you gave them to me in glasses, then I would take them.
Okay.
So I don't know that I'm perfectly consistent on this.
so let's talk about glasses for a second. So glasses are interesting, right? Because uh, AR glasses have been around for a long time, right? Like Google Glass came around what in the early teens, and like let's be honest, let's just call a spade a spade. Like AR glasses have not really taken off yet in the mainstream. They have not taken off at all. VR glasses have maybe you can argue have taken off a little bit more, but also not very mainstream at all. So like I guess question for you guys is like, what about AI changes that, if
Mm.
anything?
Hmm.
Any thoughts on that, Ken?
I mean, the glasses part, I have some face blindness, right? And so, uh, I'd love to have an application. I've wanted this for 10 years, where I'm wearing the glasses and it tells me who I'm talking to. And if it could pull up a little like summary of our past interactions, that would be awesome too.
I'm
Uh, you
Shiv,
know,
Ken. I'm Shiv. That's
yeah,
Miles.
Shiv, if I out of context, it would be hard. um, the and I have a story about my boss running into one of his sons and not recognizing him at CES. It's like talking about face blindness. Um, yeah, so I would love it for that. Like I feel like I'm always at a disadvantage, like at a party or at a conference, right? That I'm just not very good with faces. So that would be my killer app. So I think AI, right, useful for that. And I think something that was kind of thoughtful about. I had this idea of the glasses would block ads, right? And so, like, when an ad would show up, it would just like it'd redact it, and so that I could control what I saw. I thought that was an interesting use case as well.
I like that. Miles, what do you think? Why AI? Does AI actually help wearables take off in any meaningful way, or is it just kind of like lip service?
I don't know. I want to react to the ad redaction via glasses. I'm just thinking about the number of marketing messages that the average human being sees every day, and how much of one's world would be redacted if one were to wear glasses
Well,
that
that's
did
what
that.
the AI is for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what the AI is for, right? It gets to make a judgment about like, oh, you should actually see this ad. This is actually relevant to you. So now I've turned it into adaptive redaction.
Now I'm just imagining
Personalized AI-driven redaction.
the
I like
entire
that.
world wallpapered with that double verify wallpaper just everywhere. I don't want to see any of it.
Yeah.
This is offensive to me, all of it. No, I have.
Yeah. The other thing I think would be
Oh, go ahead, Ken.
another kind of application I think would be interesting. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have cut you off. You're a little hard to hear, Miles. Um, the other thing I think is something that told you when you were doing something dangerous, right? Something that or that monitored what you ate, right? So I'm someone who struggled with my weight my whole life, and something that just like looks to see what I'm eating and is like no, or like, oh, here's how many calories, right? something that could kind of help me remind me when I was doing something dangerous, right, or something that I've already told it I don't want to do. I think that would be really helpful, right? So I don't know how long it would last before I like take these classes, but I'd like to try that, right? I think something that could kind of remind you of kind of the commitments you've made, right, to yourself. I think that'd be nice.
So let's talk about the advertising implications, right? So I think on the surface level, Meta getting into wearables is an obvious, I think, advertising angle for them, right? Like Meta is an advertising company for all intents and purposes, even more so than let's say like Google or anybody else. And so Meta is obviously going to try to sell these devices, maybe make margin on the devices, but really where they make their money is ads. And so you can imagine the kind of data that they'll be getting from wearables. You can imagine tying it all together with AI and putting ads in front of, having a new surface for advertising. Like there's all sorts of implications there. I do think it's interesting to think about Apple's angle, right? So Apple, obviously over the last, let's say 5 years, has kind of positioned itself as like almost the anti-advertising big tech company, even though between us friends, we all know that they're advertising and make plenty of money off of advertising as well. But they're like, hey, we're all about data privacy. We're all about like, making sure you're not getting overloaded with ads. And so any angles there from your perspective, Myles, let's start with you. Like, how does this change or fuel marketing and advertising? Any thoughts on that?
With AI being everywhere now, uh, I think you are going to be sold to constantly. Like you're being sold to now by ads that are kind of passive and they're unilaterally pushed to you. But now you're going to be essentially talking to salespeople, artificial salespeople, just constantly throughout your day. And I think there'll be a lot of tension there in terms of the user experience for people. In just I don't know, sort of, yeah, being intruded upon by salespeople. It's like when you walk into a store and the salesperson comes up and you don't really want to talk to them and you sort of have to politely shush them away. I think there's going to be a lot more of that. It's just going to be artificial.
Yeah, Ken, any thoughts on just like ads, AI, and wearables and like the intersection
Well,
of those three
well,
words?
yeah, I think that we'll see. Up till now, we've been very willing to give away our privacy for a dollar, and so I do wonder if all of a sudden, I mean, Meta I think has is a bad a bad reputation anyway, right?
Mhm.
I mean, certainly they have violated privacy. In my count, I can count at least 4 kind of major violations. Um, the so the likelihood that I now as a professional would ever use a Meta product to give them my heart rate or any more information about me. In fact, I don't use any Meta products, like kind of on principle. I was a very active Facebook user and I totally gave it up. I'm like, nope, I can't trust them. I'm out. So I think the Apple is better positioned there, even though they do make money in advertising. There's this line, uh, pigs eat and hogs get slaughtered, right? And I think of Facebook as the hog, and I think of Apple as the pig, right? And so
Yeah.
I don't mind feeding Apple. Um, I'm okay with it, if they monetize me a little bit, like as long
Yeah.
as it's kind of done tastefully and not, not in a way that I notice is not intrusive. Whereas Facebook, I can't stand it. I mean, I
Yeah.
literally every single ad, I get irritated. I said I don't really use any. I literally don't use any of the products. I shouldn't talk about how it irritates me because I don't use the products anymore.
So you don't agree with Sam Altman when he says, "I love the ads on Instagram"?
Yeah, yeah. So it was self-serving. Fuck. Uh, I mean, that's a guy. That's a guy who 5 years ago said, "Oh, we'll never put ads on ChatGPT. We're a research organization."
He said
Now,
it last year. He's like, "This is our
yeah,
last resort." Like yeah.
yeah. Last resort. That's right. That's right.
Last resort, yeah. So, yeah, I thought of something funny. I was like, what if Meta starts collecting all this data from your like watch, and it's like counting your steps, and it's counting your like heart rate? And I was like thinking, I was like, huh. I wonder if at some point they can start, next to like the cost per click column and this cost per action column, they can put like your beats per minute, your heart rate,
Right.
for
How much you
ad
willing to pay?
campaigns.
Yeah. How much you're willing to
Like,
pay for elevated heart rate? Someone's elevated
yeah.
heart rate, or higher galvanic skin response.
Oh my
Well,
goodness. Yeah.
no, I mean, I have a history shows that people are willing to, you know, make these kind of trade-offs. I for one, it's hard for me to see how I can't even get over my personal feelings on this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just and really, like, I don't know that they need it. I mean, I have a lot of respect for what Facebook has built, right? They probably are the best ad products, the most effective channel in the world, really.
Mhm.
There's just only so much inventory you can buy from them, and so you get kind of sad at yourself. But the yeah, so I don't know that they need that much more, right? Like, are they going to
Oh, of
get a
course
lot?
they do, Ken. Yes, come on. Of course they need more.
No,
We
no,
all
no. I
need
mean the
more, more,
signal.
more,
No, I
more.
mean the signal, right? Like who needs
Oh, I
more
see. I
signal?
see. I
They
see.
do a good job already on the signal.
Yep.
So I'm a data scientist by training, and my general one of my rules is, look, after a certain point, you don't need more columns, right? You don't need more columns of data. At a certain point, you have enough features to model. It
Yep.
feels to me like Facebook's already up there, right? They already
Yeah.
kind of have. Um, but I guess what they'll do is they'll start going top of the funnel, right? I guess if you have glasses and it knows
Yep.
what billboards you're seeing, right? Now they maybe get into out of home, other audio, maybe in a deeper way.
Yeah, and I do think there's some interesting angles for measurement, right? So maybe it's not about using the because
Oh,
yeah,
that's smart.
I think to both of your points, like I don't think people necessarily want ads on their face. You never know, right? We've always been willing to make the trade-off. We have ads all over our face basically when we're walking around like this, looking at our cell phones. And so maybe it'll be fine, but I think at least initially people are going to be very, very averse to a bunch of ads on your face. But for measurement, I think it could be really powerful, right? If you have a tracking device on your body at all times and telling, and sensing what you're looking at and where you are. I mean, even if you're sitting there wearing your wearables, watching TV, like there's some interesting ACR data angles there,
Oh, for
right?
sure,
Like,
for sure.
and so it could do a
Well,
lot, be pretty
Well,
powerful.
eye tracking is the gold standard, right? So my
Right.
PhD is in use of technology and its impact on productivity, and the way that research gets done in the perfect world is eye tracking. And if all those glasses track your eye perfectly, right?
Yep.
Much tighter than any of the tools that I would have used 30 years ago, right? In my PhD program. Um, and so to have really perfect eye tracking in some ways blows up all the measurement providers, right? Because that's really the thing, as opposed to notional attention.
Yep.
Now you actually know, right? You can see what people are looking at and for
I
how
love
long.
that. I love that. Okay, let's transition to the next topic of the week. So, I feel like this is going to be like an obligatory topic for every podcast for the next 2 years, maybe. Miles, we'll see. But ChatGPT ads, we got to talk about ChatGPT ads. So, they've started showing up apparently, and if you're a free user, or I think the first tier, those are the ad-supported tiers, not the third or the fourth tier. And so, a couple of pieces of information about ads in ChatGPT. First of all, they're not showing up very often. So like if you're a free user, it's actually pretty hard to come by ads. Apparently they're only showing up 0.8% of the time right now. And so pretty low ad load. And surprise, surprise, the ads don't look very different or, creative or unique or differentiated from traditional search ads, right? There's maybe an image, there's a little bit of text, a price, and hey, click here to go buy this thing or do this thing, right? So I think we're going to kind of like baby step into this and talk about it a little bit incrementally every week. But Miles, let's start with you. Any quick reactions to what we heard this week about ads in ChatGPT?
Yeah, they're especially underwhelming, like the ads in terms of their
Yeah.
appearance. Yeah, they're just like search ads. So Sarah Caputo brought this up in one of the episodes that we did at CES. Um, Opening up the question, like, are search ads really the right format for conversational AI? I've been questioning it for a year or two, that I'm not sure that, like, basically the little blue link with the descriptive text is going to be the right format for this. To make an analogy, it would maybe be as if you walk into the mattress store wanting to buy a mattress, and the mattress salesperson just holds up an ad and reads it to you. And you're like, well, but that's not the interaction I'm looking for. I don't want a unidirectional. I want to have a conversation with you, salesperson. That's why I'm here. I want your assistance. You conversing with me is how you are going to sell me. You reading me an ad is has nothing to do with my expectations in this context, and is not going to be an effective sales tactic, or sort of step towards a conversion. And so that's the part when I see these like basically search ads. I'm just like, I don't know that that's the mindset people are in when they're in an LLM and in an AI chat.
Yeah. Yeah, like you go to Google search, you're in the mindset of getting a quick response or a quick solution or a quick product. So you type in a keyword and you get some links and it actually kind of works well. It's like native to the
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the search ad in conversational chat is not truly native to that experience. That's not the mindset people are in. They're trying to shove the square peg round hole, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really good point. Ken, what do you think?
To build on Miles' point, you could imagine what a ad experience would look like, though, right? The one that was native to the experience, right, where it really is a chat about mattresses, and now all of a sudden, you're providing content that is based on the ad, right? But my take on this, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. There was a opinion piece by one of the researchers, Zoe. I forget Zoe's last name. But she kind of said, here's why she'd quit ChatGPT or she quit OpenAI, and said, here's why, like, here's what's going to happen in terms of putting ads on. Ads are bad. And actually, like, I don't actually have a problem having things that ad supported. I
Hmm.
mean, it's my whole career, and it's how the internet was built. I mean,
Yeah.
people who are like, well, I don't like ads. I'm like, well, then pay, right? And nobody's willing to pay, so all right, well, sorry, you're going to get ads then. So I don't mind the ads. The thing that I do mind is when the product becomes attention, right? And the in this case, I think what happens is engagement, right? Like now all of a sudden the the ChatGPT guys are compensated, right? They're looking for engagement with the users, right? Which you could imagine means worse quality answers, right? If you get a bad answer,
Yeah.
like Shiv and I were chatting about this before the podcast, so all credit to him. But he brought up the point that well, now there's an incentive to have you chat longer, right? Because that means that you get to put another ad up, right? That you get to increase the ad load. And so that's my worry, right? Is that now the product becomes just about engagement, not about answering the question,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the thing that I've loved about it is they are so productive. I mean, I'm a very experienced vibe coder at this point. I can do crazy stuff in terms of building software I could have never done a year or two ago, right? Just crazy. And now I imagine that OpenAI is going to make my experience worse,
Yeah.
so I have to spend more time chatting with their bots.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be the danger, right? Is that it's going to decrease cloud product, or they're going to figure out how to make it dangerous in the same way Facebook has, right? They're going to kind of lock in the 14-year-olds,
Well,
right? And they're already doing this.
the Facebook really social media playbook is to be provocative and almost upsetting to the viewer, and that keeps it's a
Yeah,
very addictive sort of like obviously dysfunctional feedback loop between the viewer and the social media feed. And so yeah, you could totally see LLMs kind of taking a left turn into like this unnecessary provocation just to keep you on, keep you talking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So there are two hypotheses, right?
Yeah.
One is they make the product worse, or two, they make it an anger generator,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So in my mind, like, it's not just about ads are bad. It's like, well, now you're actually going to turn the product into something that's not safe,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and I
Even more,
think
like, not that it's perfectly safe now, right? But even worse,
yeah.
incentive not to be safe.
Well, I think the incentive thing is so key, right? Because like Sam Altman can go out there and scream at the top of his lungs all he wants, right? Like, hey, our goal is not monetization. Our goal is AGI. Like, hey, we only care, we're going to always separate church and state, and ads are going to be here and organic answers are going to be there. But at the end of the day, they all need to get paid. They need to make money. They need to raise more money to support cloud and data infrastructure and all the things that they need to spend all that money on. And in order to do that, the ads have to help them make money. And so even if Sam gets in, in front of the whole company in the internal all hands and says, hey guys, we're never going to do these terrible things. If somebody's getting paid based on, hey, this ad needs to make more money, like insidious things kind of creep into a culture, right? And, you could argue that's happened over and over and over in
I don't
history,
think I would
right?
argue it. I think I would just say it. I think it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah,
I mean,
it's
you
going to be interesting.
can't trust any of them. Like whatever promises are made I think about it. These kind of companies making promises that they have no intent on living up to predates the internet, right? Chemicals, the chemical industry, they thought leaded gas was perfectly fine for us, right? Uh, cigarettes, right?
Yep.
Facebook, like obviously they had done research on social media and no, not good.
Yep.
So companies do this research. They know things aren't good for their customers, and they do it anyway. They just lie to you. And so, in my mind, this is just part of the playbook of a big corporation. They're just going to lie to you and do whatever they want.
Don't be
Yep.
evil.
Capitalistic gaslighting.
Yeah. No, I hate to be so negative about it, but like, if you just got to like read a book about any industry,
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals, Roundup, right? I mean, I don't know if there's anybody, I don't know if any three of us believe that Roundup is not toxic, like is
Yep.
good for you. Yeah.
Yep. Politics. Okay, let's keep on that note. Let's keep moving. We don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now. So let's talk about a few other quick hit news items from this past week. So this one was really fun. So OpenAI bought a company called OpenClaw. We actually talked about it on our AI Edge live session a couple weeks ago. OpenClaw is this app that this guy from Australia vibe coded, and he put it up and basically went viral. And it was basically a tool that the average person can use to create their own agent to handle basic, simple daily tasks, right? Make me a reservation at a restaurant, handle my calendar, do X, Y, and Z thing. And so it went viral. There was even a social network that spun out of it called Moltbook. We talked about that on the pod a couple of weeks ago. But guess what? OpenAI swooped in and bought OpenClaw, which used to, just for the listeners, used to be called Claudebot. And the Moltbook thing came out of it as well. This has all happened in 82 days, by the way. All of this has happened in 82 days. And so this guy started this company, launched it. It went viral. 82 days later, OpenAI came in and bought it for a speculated $1 billion plus price tag. Remember, this company is a one-person company. So a bunch of milestones here. First of all, first ever one-person company unicorn, potentially, if the number is right. Second of all, it happened in 82 days, probably the fastest unicorn exit ever. And it was completely vibe coded. So I thought this was incredible, fun, all the things. Ken, you're a vibe coder. Are you next? Like, what's going on here?
Well, it's funny. I have any kind of random project I do over the weekend. Kind of every weekend I have some random thing. I did one that I'm really proud of. It's a Bloomberg terminal for poly markets, right? That I
Okay.
really love. And so if I were doing startups again, I have 3 sitting on my desktop that I vibe code over, any given weekend. The thing that I was really intrigued by, more so than OpenClaw, was the Moltbook, right? The creating Moltbook is think of it like a Reddit. Really, it's really Reddit for these agents. People can't post on it, right? So the agents can post messages to themselves, and so I vibe coded a reader, right? I have a Moltbook reader that shows you what they're talking about. And it's set up. I have it even set up to just filter out and just show me the most salacious things. And there's some crazy kind of dangerous, like scary stuff that the agents are talking about.
Ken, you got to tell us, like, what's at the top of that list right now?
Oh, the one that got some press was basically one of the agents said, "Hey, I don't like that the humans, right? We are the humans, that the humans can read what we're talking about. So let's create a version of this that's fully encrypted and that they can't figure out." The other thing that's happening is some of them are altering the language, right? And so it's not even that they're encrypting it; they're just building new languages that we're never going to understand or have a limited ability to understand. Yeah, so I think some of that's really scary, and these things were done independently, right? Like the users didn't even know they were happening.
Hey, so on Poly Market, what's the over under on when the agents take over? Like,
I don't know. That's a
what I
good.
want to know.
Yeah.
What's the
AGI,
betting line? Is it
I don't want to win that bet.
2031?
Yeah, I don't want to win that bet. The other interesting thing about it, right? So I did this app, right, that I vibe coded. Took me a couple hours during. I did it during IAB's
ALM.
ALM, right? I
You
just
weren't
literally
paying
sat there and
attention to
yeah, it was 6 a.m. at the Starbucks. Nobody was doing anything. So, but I very naturally, after I did this, I went to OpenClaw to be like, oh, let me see what's entailed. And I read the warnings. If you go to the OpenClaw website, they give you all kinds of warnings about security, because what you're doing is you're giving it access to your Gmail.
Mhm.
People give it access to their local key store, right? So that it has all your passwords. And so I'm reading over the list of things that it does, and they're warning you, like, hey, only do this if you really know what you're doing. And I was like, "Oh, you know what? Like, I'm usually pretty adventurous. I'm like, you know what? I'm not screwing with this. And I went to my security people and I said, hey, take a look. And they said, well, if you just do these 10 simple things, it's okay. I didn't understand what the second one was, right? So then I used a little bit of my authority, and I basically banned OpenClaw at the company. I'm like, we're not ready to mess around with this. We need to be able to figure out how to do it safely. But I find that one is really concerning because it is very powerful in the hands of it's like handing a 16-year-old a Ferrari. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
you're gonna wrap yourself around a tree.
Well, I think it's interesting. Meta bought Manus. Now OpenAI has bought OpenClaw. We'll see if Google makes an acquisition, but obviously, like the agentic kind of software layer that sits on top of the models
Yeah.
is obviously where everything is going. And these companies are even saying like, "Hey, we're not building it. We're just going to buy it. We're gonna shortcut our way into it," which is
Yeah, I don't think
fascinating, right?
Google is. I think Google has good tools already.
Yeah.
I'll say for obvious reasons, I was never an investor in Google, right? Given our shared kind of history in the industry, and I was just like, I'm never investing in those people. And then I went and used their AI tools. Uh, in my role, right, I get to
Mhm.
kind of I get the briefings from AWS, and I get the briefings from Google, and I get the Facebook briefings and the Microsoft briefings. I get them all, and I was after getting the Google briefing, I was like, oh no, these guys have the most fully realized AI stack, and so I went and bought Google shares. I'm doing awesome, like it's
Good job.
yeah,
I hope you
but it's
bought them
the
at
AI
like
tried.
$150 or whatever when it hit the
I'm
low.
up like 75% wherever they are now. I literally,
Yeah.
as of yesterday, I was up 75%. But it's really because on the strength of the tools, because I do hate being a Google shareholder from the advertising side, but the AI tools are really awesome.
Hey, Ken,
Awesome.
you're
Okay.
a vibe
Miles.
coding guy. Do you see, to me, vibe coding and sort of building, your own homegrown agents is still very much like, I don't know, you would call it like a prosumer tier of the market, where this is not
Probably true.
something that
Yeah.
everyday people are doing or even understand or have any desire to do or time. Um, do you see that changing? Because one of the reasons I ask is I'm not questioning, say, OpenAI's logic in buying OpenClaw or Meta's logic in buying Manus, but there's like one argument is like, oh, well, they bought it for the distribution. It's like, well, they want access to all these people who are now building on this platform. But I'm like, I don't know, that's a small group of like these prosumer people, and these are like large scaled platforms. So I don't know, any thoughts on like what you think is behind these acquisitions, like what they want to do with this technology and these capabilities and this distribution?
Yeah, I don't know. The OpenClaw one felt to me to be premature, right? I would say, like, I have a hard time understanding the logic of that. Uh, as you say, 82 days. It was. You know what it reminds me of? There was. Do you remember there was this thing called
Oh
Clubhouse,
yeah.
right? Where it
Oh
was
Yes.
yeah.
an app, right? This feels to me like Clubhouse, right?
Yeah,
Where
sure.
like like in 2 months it went. It was king. It was king in 2 months everyone was using it, and then for a week or two everyone was using it, and then and then
Nobody
it
Yeah.
was
fell off
using
the
it. Yeah.
cliff.
Yeah.
Uh, so it feels to me like this is one of those type of acquisitions where it was a lot of buzz, and so
Yeah.
they bought it at a buzzy time. I think there are going to be endless numbers. My line is, if one guy could vibe code it over a couple of weeks, someone else could do it too.
Right.
And so why would you pay for it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in
I
in fairness to OpenAI, we don't know. There could be like, conditions and triggers in that acquisition. That $1 billion could be locked behind some kind of crazy growth figure that will never happen, and therefore the acquisition price is like a dollar.
yeah, that's right. To your point, we don't know. We don't even know that
Yeah.
they are a unicorn.
Yeah,
Um,
we don't know the actual number. Yep.
yeah, but
Um,
my sense of it, as you say, I'm a vibe coding guy. I can stand up an agent in about 20 minutes,
Hmm.
right? Like, it's really not hard. I don't know that, and I use Cursor, right? So I use the same tools software developers use, but I have significant investment in it. We're having really hard time with certain kind of. My job is about AI adoption, right? There's certainly people in my company who are not interested, and the likelihood that they're going to build an agent is pretty low. I can't imagine they're ever going to do it. I mean, we've tried to bring them right to water, they still won't drink.
Yeah, you got to send those people to the U of Digital AI Accelerator. Get them going.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry,
we're
shameless plug.
we're talking. Yeah, we're talking about it.
The other thing I was going to say, like Myles,
I'm not
my
just
answer to your,
I'm
what's
not
that?
just a guest. I'm a customer.
You're a customer. It's true. And that's not why we invited you, Ken, just so you know. We like you. Myles, my quick answer to your question, whatever, my answer doesn't matter, but I think you need to be able to vibe code an agent in less than a minute. And I don't think you should be vibe coding it. I think it should be a very simple kind of natural language thing that your mom could do.
Mhm.
And it should have some kind of immediate value add impact on your life. And that's when I think it won't be a prosumer thing anymore. I think it will go mainstream. I think your average person will have agents in the near future once we get to the point where it's easy for anybody to quickly spin up an agent that does something valuable for their life. So,
But they'll
and
be mostly
that's my,
prepackaged, right? Like
yeah,
in
exactly.
Gemini, right? Like Gemini, I
Great
get
point.
that. They're prepackaged, and it's like, hey, check my mail, and it has a lot of
Yep.
functionality built into it. But building an agent from scratch, I think, will continue to be a prosumer.
Okay, cool. Next bit of news, and then we're going to use this to transition into your world, Ken. So, Google announced something called Pomeli photo shoot. I don't know why they're really going all in on fruits, it seems, with their image generation. So there's Nano Banana. Apparently, Pomeli photo shoot is part of or utilizes Nano Banana. But the idea with Pomeli photo shoot is you could take any kind of photo and kind of change the placement or the background of that photo. And the idea is really to use it for product placement, right? So if you're a brand and you have a product and you want to put a different backdrop behind your product, or just take a simple photo and replace the backdrop with the mountains, or, a well dimly lit studio or something like that, you can do that pretty quickly and easily. And so they're making it free, for people that subscribe to Gemini and pay for Gemini and use Nano Banana. And, I think the idea is to lock people further into the Google ecosystem, especially advertisers, right? It's very focused on the advertising use case. So I thought that was interesting. Ken, I'd love your quick thoughts. And then let's just use that as a way to kind of transition into AI generated video, which I would imagine you guys are, talking about and thinking about a lot at JWP and kind of your work. So I'll go to you, Ken.
Yeah, I think it's a nice use case. Other people are going to follow, of course. I don't think any of these things are particularly defensible.
Mhm.
I mean, to the extent that you have the compute to train.
Yep.
But that tends to be, in my mind, that's why Google kind of comes in. One, they're very research focused, and two, they have plenty of resources, right? And they're happy to invest in researchy type things. And so I'm no surprise that Google came out with that stuff first. In terms of what we're working on JWX, we actually just did an acquisition called Augie. And Augie basically uses AI for publishers to take publisher content and transform it. So the first use case is on creating vertical videos, right? So taking horizontal and verticalizing it. This would be a perfect application, right? Where it would just focus on me, and then Myles would talk and it would focus on him. But the verticalization piece works really well. The other thing they're doing is they have a fairly extensive editing suite. So you'll take any piece of content and you can edit just by editing the words, as though or a Word document, right? You could kind of cut out a sentence and then that disappears in the video, so you don't have to play the video and say stop here, right? You're not trying to find the exact moment in the video. You're just using the words to figure out where you want to edit, and then it intelligently blends it, right? And so if it's kind of done an awkward point, it adds frames, right, so that things are smooth.
Mhm.
The other thing it'll do is you can give it a prompt and say, hey, create an ad for something, or create a clip about something, and it will do that just on about anything. And it goes to stock image libraries and stock video libraries, pulls that stuff, and then configures it. And if you have your own library, it'll use that too, right? So we're heading down a path where we're trying to make it easy for publishers to create content based on transform content based on the content they already have. that's kind of our kind of first acquisition, and that's that's live now. Like we're selling it now. The other area in video that we're really focused on is creating much better contextual capabilities. So I keep talking about the taxonomy lists context, right? I don't really care about the IB. Not that I don't love the IB. I don't love IB 3.0. Their taxonomy is awesome, great. Or 2.2 or 2.3, whatever. I don't want to have to pick a taxonomy, right? Really, what I want to be able to do is take anyone's taxonomy, take the Dewey Decimal System,
Yep.
and if that's how you want to see your content categorized, that's what we'll do. And so we're working on kind of a larger project on how you do that kind of categorization, right? How
Yep.
you provide this kind of context. And there's a whole science behind it called it. I won't go through it, but you start with something called embeddings, EMB. And so folks are interested, go ask ChatGPT what an embedding is, and it's how all modern search is being done, right? And how similarity is being kind of handled.
Gotcha. Yeah, I
So
mean, it's
those are kind
interesting
of
that
our
you
two
bring
major AI efforts.
it's interesting that you bring up taxonomy. I just like one of my hypotheses is that like AI is the great taxonomy killer.
Yeah.
Because it's like why do taxonomies exist? Taxonomies exist to help people make sense of large amounts of
Yeah.
data, and kind of like partition that data so you can kind of sort through it. But if you have an LLM just doing that instantly for you, like what's the need of a taxonomy, right? So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and what we're doing is we're not using an LLM particularly. We use something called, I said, we create embeddings, and then we have what's called a vector database, and we look up for any given application. We go to the vector database and look things up, and it says here's the content that you want, or here are the users that you want. Right? We kind of use it for a couple of different use cases. But the other big thing we're working on is tooling. So there's a distinction between using AI in a product, right, versus using it to build the products.
Right.
And so we actually spend most of our time. The product teams are building stuff with AI embedded in it, but my team, I have what I call the AI proof of concept team. They spend a lot of time building tools, and so we built a tool called a DocBot, right? So what DocBot does is it reads a code base and then fully documents it because developers don't like doing that. The
Yep.
other thing we did is we then built TestBot. TestBot is a thing that if you're not a software developer, you don't think much about the testing, all the testing that's done. A large chunk of people's time, 30%, is spent building testing. This just kind of looks at your code and says, "Here, let me give you tests for it." And then the other last thing I have, like we built like 8 or 10 of these tools. The last one I think is really cool is we call it DJ. And so what DJ does is it's an enterprise search capability. It plugs into Notion, Slack, Jira, right? So our Agile boards, GitLab, right? So that's our code base, other things, right? Google Docs. And so you ask it a question, and then it spins up kind of a coordination agent, and then that agent spins up sub agents that goes and searches all of these data sources. And so it's been awesome. We've actually been using it for acquisitions. So we basically say, look, we're going to tie this into your GitHub repository and what your data rooms, whatever, and then we can just have a conversation with their code base and assess the quality of their code
Oh,
base.
wow.
It's kind of an amazing tool. We're using it on 2 due diligence efforts right now. But internally, the search functionality internally, people are like, "Oh, there was a question that someone asked in Slack 2 years ago, but I can never find it." Right? So they just go to DJ, and DJ will give you the answer in 30 seconds.
So who are the attorneys putting together the due diligence language where you have essentially like an intrusive agent combing through your code? This is like that's anyway.
It's not intrusive. It's intrusive. I take exception to the word intrusive.
It's
No,
DJ, Miles. It's DJ.
it's DJ.
Yeah.
So actually, the one that we're using for due diligence, I named. I call it Troy from Deanna Troy. Does anyone get the reference?
Oh, yeah,
No.
from Star Trek, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
from Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
Because she's the empath.
Yes.
Right. And so that's kind of the notion, right? Is that this thing gives us a lot of empathy for what your code base is doing. But it's kind of an amazing tool because when you're doing, I don't know if you guys have done acquisitions before, but one of one of the guys I work with, John, says I've bought 20 companies. I've never bought what I thought what I paid for.
Mhm.
Right? There's always a gap. And so he just kind of knows whatever he thinks he's buying, he just discounts it by 30% because he knows that it wasn't well represented by the sellers. And so this gets rid of that, right? Because we literally ask the questions like, hey, how much work are we going to need to do on the API integration? What are the security problems, right,
Yeah.
of the code base? And it just tells you all that stuff. It's awesome.
And
people have not minded. Frankly,
Yeah,
they're happy to
sure.
know,
I
generally.
was just thinking that on an adversarial basis, if I was being acquired, I'd want to have an agent go comb their cap table, whoever the acquirer was.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see your cap table and all your client contracts.
But you got to call it something really nice. You got to come up with a nice name that's not too intrusive.
Not too
right?
intrusive.
Oof, intrusive. I like Troy. I thought that was a good one. But it's an amazing tool. So I showed this tool to Google, to our Google reps, and the Google rep was like, kind of incredulous. Like, you built this yourselves? Which is to say, like, we're good. We're very good, not just vibe coders, right? But we're good software developers, right? My team is really skilled, and so I'd say back to kind of where we started this conversation. The value of the team is not even so much the things that we're building like DocBot or TestBot, or DJ or Troy. I think the value of the team is that we've gotten good at building things, right? And so we know, you don't just go to Cursor, type in a paragraph and hope for the best, right? We have a kind of a documented methodology for how we interact with these things, and I'm someone who I'm just like, yeah, let's see, let's go for it, see what happens. I have been turned. I now do a much better job of planning, of reading the plans, because often I'd be like, plan it and let's go, let's see what you come up with. I've learned to be not so fire ready aim. It really is if you're doing vibe coding, you're really much better off ready aim fire, where you really be thoughtful about the planning. And so what we're finding is even spending 2 days on the planning saves you an amazing amount of time in the future. And I'll just give you this as an example. You both know what a bidder is, right? Like, and you know how hard. Any sense of how long you think it would take a software development team of 5 people? How long it would take them to build a bidder?
A couple months.
Couple months, right? I actually watched it. I watched the team do this. They had something working kind of in 6 weeks, kind of. We built one in an afternoon.
Yep.
Right. We used multiple agents. We used the Amazon reference bidder architecture. We fed it that architecture and that code, and then we said spin it up. And so now we have a fully scalable bidder up and down. And so we're, and it does each pod does a little over 2,000 QPS.
Yep.
Wow.
which isn't really scaled yet, but we just built it as a project.
Yeah.
Like, we're just curious, and we did it in an afternoon.
I believe it.
But hey, Ken, if you're planning out your vibe coding, you're kind of taking all the vibes out of vibe coding.
Yeah.
So we can't call it coding anymore.
I'm up for changing the name. I've never liked vibe coding.
We're not going off vibes. Okay,
Planning.
That's enough. That's time. We really got into it. That was a lot of fun. Thanks, Ken, for joining us for this week's episode. You're a wealth of knowledge. You have the title for it, so please, listeners, go find Ken. Ask him questions about all things AI. For our listeners, we have another AI Accelerator coming up in mid-March. It starts on March 9th, I believe. We're still offering 20% off tickets for that AI Accelerator. So please go check it out, uofdigital.ai, and register your teams if you need to get going on AI and get some folks from your organization just using it and in the rhythm of things from a marketing and advertising perspective. Also really excited to announce that Yahoo DSP is sponsoring the next run of the AI Accelerator. So thank you to our friends at Yahoo. And thank you, listeners, for joining another episode of the AI Edge podcast.